I'm Alex Cardinale, and you're watching a Alex Cardinale Entertainment production right here on the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. Enjoy the show.
Several murder cases often occur in several parts of the world. It is very difficult to reveal this case. An investigation needs to be carried out by the police. The investigation will be carried out by police officers. The evidence will be analyzed by a team from the forensic laboratory. And the results of the examination from the forensic laboratory will be given to detectives to be developed into information. The results of the analysis will be used to create an investigation report anatomic of crime. The report will be adjusted according to witness statements and indicative evidence.
Unlock the mysteries with Detective Alex Cardinale. Hey fellow detectives and crime junkies, welcome to On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. Get ready to dive into a world of crime and mystery. Join Detective Cardinale as he explores crimes of all kinds, from rapes and murders to robberies and more. Ever wonder what crimes took place 10 to 20 years ago? What can we learn from these past enigmas? Tune in right now to find out. Why watch? Engaging analysis. Detective Cardinale brings his expert insights and captivating storytelling to unravel some of the most perplexing cases. Educational insights. Learn about investigative techniques and the intricacies of solving crimes. Historical perspective. Discover how past crimes have shaped current law enforcement practices. Remember, keeping our communities safe starts with you. If you see something suspicious, don't hesitate to report it by calling 911. Remember, if you see something, say something. Let's welcome our host from Port St. Lucie, Florida, Detective Alex Cardinale, as he takes you on a thrilling journey into the heart of the criminal world. Don't miss out on this captivating experience. Tune in now and be part of the adventure.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale. And what a show I have for you tonight. You know, police officers and cops have a duty to serve and protect the citizens of their country. But sometimes, even cops can turn bad. Even cops can turn deadly. Even cops can turn into killers. Tonight on the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale, learn all about killer cops. Learn about some cops that turned into killers, like Ed Lutz, who killed a lot of his neighbors and shot his boss. Cops like Steven Rios, who was living a double life and killed his victim, who he was in a romantic relationship with, and other killer cops that killed multiple people. Tonight, you're going to learn about cops like Drew Peterson, Ed Lutz, Steven Rios, and more. As always, please feel free to share your thoughts and your opinions on these killer cops in the comments. And if you enjoyed the show, please smash that like button and subscribe for more amazing crime episodes. I've got some great crime shows coming your way here in 2026. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start by giving you an introduction to the notorious killer cops that you're going to learn about tonight here on the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. Now, while the vast majority of law enforcement officers serve their communities honorably, there have been rare and shocking cases where those entrusted to uphold the law have instead committed heinous crimes like murder. Here are some notable instances where police officers were revealed to be killers. The case of Drew Peterson. Drew Peterson, a former police sergeant in Bolingbrook, Illinois, gained national attention for the mysterious disappearances and deaths surrounding his wife. Peterson's fourth wife, Stacey Ann Kales, vanished in 2007, sparking widespread media interest. Although her body had never been found, Peterson became the prime suspect in her disappearance. Further investigation led to the re-examination of the death of his third wife, Kathleen Sabio, who was found dead in her bathtub in 2004. Initially ruled an accidental drowning, Sabio's death was later determined to be a homicide. In 2012, Peterson was convicted of her murder and sentenced to 38 years in prison. The case of Gerald John Schaefer. Gerald John Schaefer was a Florida police officer who was revealed to be a serial killer responsible for the murders of at least two young women, with suspicions of many more victims. Schaefer used his position to lure victims by offering them a ride or help. In 1973, Schaefer was convicted of the murder of Susan Place and Georgia Jessup, two teenage girls. During the investigation, numerous items belonging to other missing women were found in his possession, leading authorities to suspect him of additional murders. Schaefer was sentenced to life in prison, but was killed by a fellow inmate in 1995. The case of Manuel Pardo. Manuel Pardo was a former Florida police officer who turned into a vigilante killer, claiming to rid the world of bad people. Pardo, who had been fired from the police force for falsifying reports, embarked on a killing spree between 1986 and 1987, resulting in the deaths of 9 people. Pardo's victims were primarily involved in drug trafficking, as he rationalized his actions as a fight against evil. In 1988, he was convicted of the murders and sentenced to death, ultimately being executed in 2012. The case of Antoinette Frank. Antoinette Frank, a New Orleans police officer, shocked the nation with her involvement in a triple murder at a local Vietnamese restaurant in 1995. Frank, along with an accomplice, attempted to rob the restaurant, killing two siblings who worked there and a fellow police officer moonlighting as a security guard. Frank's actions were particularly chilling due to her betrayal of a fellow officer and her premeditated attempt to eliminate witnesses. She was swiftly brought to justice, convicted of murder, and sentenced to death. Frank remains on death row as of the latest updates. And then we have Ed Lutz, the psychotic killer, the psychotic cop killer. He killed a lot of his neighbors because one of the neighbors he accused of molesting his daughter. So he thought that guy molested his daughter, so he took him to court, but he lost. The decision was overturned, and it was determined that he did not molest his daughter. Also, Ed Lutz was looking for a promotion in the police department, so he snapped when he lost the case against the perpetrator, and he did not get the promotion, so he killed his neighbor and he fatally injured his supervisor and his boss. And we're going to talk more about Ed Lutz a little bit later on in the show. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you information on all these cases more in depth. Right now, this is just an introduction to all these killer cops. We're also going to talk about the bisexual killer cop, Steven Rios, who was already married with a woman and he had a young child at home, but he was seeing a gay young man, and eventually he killed the gay young man because he didn't want his double life to be known. These cases serve as grim reminders of the potential for corruption and violence even within trusted institutions. They underscore the importance of vigilance, oversight, and accountability in law enforcement to prevent such tragedies from occurring. While these stories are unsettling, they also highlight the resilience of the justice system in ultimately holding perpetrators accountable, regardless of their position or their power. And those are the notorious cop killers. That's a great introduction for this episode for notorious cop killers. And now we're going to talk about our first killer cop. And our first killer cop is Steven Rios. Steven Rios is known as the bisexual killer cop or the cop with a double life. He was married and he had a young child. But then he met Jessie Valencia, a young gay college student, and he formed a relationship with Jessie Valencia. But once Jessie Valencia threatened to turn him in and expose their relationship, Steven Rios did the unthinkable. He committed murder to avoid people finding out he was living a double life. Here is some more information on the Steven Rios bisexual killer cop. The Steven Rios and Jessie Valencia murder case is a significant event in the history of crime in the United States of America, marked by its complex interpersonal dynamics and the subsequent legal proceedings. This case drew considerable media attention due to the involvement of a law enforcement officer, and the intricate details surrounding the crime. In June of 2004, Jessie Valencia, a 23-year-old University of Missouri student, was found dead in his Columbia, Missouri apartment. Valencia, who was openly gay, was discovered with his throat slashed. The murder shocked the community and prompted a thorough investigation. Key figures: Jessie Valencia, a student known for his vibrant personality and ambitions in journalism. He was well liked among his peers and openly expressed his identity. Steven Rios, a police officer with the Columbia Police Department. At the time of the murder, he was married and had a child, but was secretly involved in a romantic relationship with Valencia. The investigation. The investigation into Valencia's murder revealed a hidden affair between him and Steven Rios. Friends of Jessie Valencia reported that he had expressed concerns about the relationship, citing Rios' potential to be violent and his unwillingness to have their relationship exposed. This information became a crucial aspect of their investigation. Evidence and trial. DNA evidence found at the crime scene linked Rios to Valencia's murder, strengthening the prosecution's case. Several witnesses, including friends of the victim, Jessie Valencia, testified about the relationship between the victim and Steven Rios, which painted a picture of secretive and tumultuous affair. Rios' defense. Steven Rios maintained his innocence throughout the trial, claiming that he was not responsible for the murder. However, The evidence presented by the prosecution was compelling. In November 2004, Steven Rios was found guilty of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict was based heavily on the DNA evidence and the testimonies that highlighted the motive behind the crime. Appeal and outcome. Former police officer Steven Rios appealed his conviction, and in 2006, the Missouri Court of Appeals overturned the first-degree murder conviction, citing issues with juror instructions. Steven Rios was retried in 2008 and found guilty of second-degree murder and armed criminal action, receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. This case remains a poignant reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the far-reaching consequences of personal actions. It also highlights the challenges faced by those living double lives and the sometimes tragic outcomes that can ensue when secrets are kept hidden. This case continues to be studied for its legal and social implications, especially today when LGBTQ seems to be more and more popular and more people are forgiving of that community. So back when Jessie Valencia was killed in 2004, being gay was kind of frowned upon, and that's probably why Steven Rios didn't want to be outed or known as the bisexual police officer. So that is our first killer cop that we have discussed. So now let me share my thoughts on this case. I first learned about this case on Investigation Discovery, and I watch Investigation Discovery a lot. A lot of the crimes that I talk about are from Investigation Discovery or from current happenings around the United States of America or the world or their well-known crimes. So I first learned about Steven Rios and Jessie Valencia from watching Investigation Discovery, and I was appalled by it. He did not have to kill Jessie Valencia to keep his relationship a secret, but it really is tragic. He learned his lesson. He's now in prison, and a young man lost his life. Very tragic. Well, the next cop we're going to talk about is a more infamous killer cop known all around the United States of America. Steven Rios might have been known if you watched Investigation Discovery, but not many people who don't watch ID Discovery are going to know who Steven Rios is. But coming up next, we're going to talk about Drew Peterson, one of the most well-known killer cops out there. So up next, we're going to talk about Drew Peterson. But first, I want to invite you to my flagship program, Saturday with Alex Cardinale, taking place this Saturday.
Join the sexy Saturday Valentine's Day takeover with Alex Cardinale. Do you think you're cute? Do you know you're sexy? Well, it's time to turn up the heat, boys and girls. This Valentine's Day, let Alex Cardinale be your guide to a night full of fun, facts, and fabulousness. Event details. Date: Saturday, February 14th, 2026. Time: 10 p.m. Eastern/7 p.m. Pacific Ware. Alex Cardinale Entertainment. YouTube channel What to Expect. Valentine's Day. Facts: discover intriguing facts about this romantic holiday. Weekend plans: get creative ideas for celebrating Valentine's weekend. Lovebird insights: learn all about these charming creatures of love. Featured fish species: dive into the world of Valentine's Day themed fish. Hosted by the lovable, cuddly, and undeniably sexy Alex Cardinale, this event promises to be a delightful mix of entertainment and enlightenment. So, get ready to celebrate love and style and make this Valentine's Day one to remember. Mark your calendars, prepare to have fun, and most importantly, get sexy. Subscribe now to the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel and join the live celebration. Let's make this Valentine's Day the best one yet.
On the next Saturday with Alex Cardinale, it's time to celebrate Valentine's Day. I hereby invite you to Sexy Saturday with Alex Cardinale, airing live this Saturday, February 14th at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It's a Valentine's Day themed Saturday with Alex Cardinale. The animal of the world will be the lovebird. There will be a very special guest in the house. Learn about the pink kissing gourami and the bleeding heart tetra, our Valentine's Day themed Aqua Alex fish. There will be some Seagrass Farms featured fish. Chef Alex will have red velvet recipes. Play Valentine's Day 2 Truth and a Lie. Get some facts on Valentine's Day, things to do for Valentine's weekend, and a whole lot more. The road to WrestleMania 42, WrestleMania Rewind, will be Triple H versus Brock Lesnar from WrestleMania 29, and more. Don't miss Sexy Saturday with Alex Cardinale, live this Saturday, February 14th, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, right here on YouTube channel Alex Cardinale Entertainment. All right, right now let's talk about Drew Peterson, the killer cop. Drew Peterson, a former police officer from Bolingbrook, Illinois, became infamous due to his involvement in 2 high-profile cases regarding his ex-wives, Kathleen Sabio and Stacey Ann Kales. His cases have attracted significant media attention and public interest. Kathleen Sabio. Kathleen Sabio was Drew Peterson's 3rd wife. In March 2004, she was found dead in a bathtub at her home. Initially, her death was ruled an accidental drowning. However, following the disappearance of Drew's 4th wife, Stacey Ann Kales, Kathleen's body was exhumed for a second autopsy in 2007. The new findings indicated that her death was a homicide, and in 2009, Drew Peterson was arrested and charged with murder. In 2012, Peterson stood trial for the murder of Kathleen Sabio. The trial was marked by the inclusion of hearsay evidence, often referred to as Drew's Law, which allowed the statements of the deceased to be used in court. Despite challenges, the jury found Peterson guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 38 years in prison in 2013. Stacey Ann Kales. Stacey Ann Kales was Drew Peterson's 4th wife, who vanished under mysterious circumstances in October 2007. Her disappearance drew widespread media attention and renewed scrutiny into Kathleen Sabio's death. Although Stacey's body has never been found, authorities suspect foul play, and Drew Peterson remains a person of interest in her case. The investigation into Stacey's disappearance is still ongoing. Despite numerous searches and tips, no substantial evidence has surfaced to provide closure to her family. Her case remains open, with Drew Peterson maintaining his innocence regarding her disappearance. Drew Peterson's cases have been the subject of extensive media coverage, including documentaries, books, and a television movie. The public's fascination with these cases lies in the dramatic turn of events, Peterson's personality, and the legal precedent set during his trial. Drew Peterson's involvement in the deaths and disappearance of his wives has left a lasting impact on the legal system and public consciousness. While he serves his sentence for the murder of Kathleen Sabio, the mystery surrounding Stacey Ann Kale's disappearance remains unsolved, continuing to captivate those who follow the case. And the question I have, how Is Drew Peterson able to marry and kill so many women as a police officer? It is sick. He basically is right. He basically is like Ric Flair with all these ex-wives. But anyway, that is the killer cop Drew Peterson. And now we move on to Gerald John Schaefer. Gerald John Schaefer was an American serial killer who committed heinous crimes that shocked the nation. His story is one of betrayal and brutality, as he was a former law enforcement officer who preyed on young women. Gerald John Schaefer was born on March 25th, 1946, in Neenah, Wisconsin. He grew up in a tumultuous environment, which some believe contributed to his later criminal behavior. Schaefer moved to Florida with his family and later attended Florida Atlantic University, where he studied to become a teacher. However, his career path took a dark turn when he decided to join law enforcement. Schaefer worked as a police officer in Wilton Manors, Florida, but his tenure was short-lived. In 1972, he was fired for abusing his authority. This dismissal did not deter him from his sinister pursuits, as he used his position to lure victims. Schaefer led a double life, presenting himself as a protector while harboring violent fantasies. Gerald John Schaefer was responsible for the deaths of multiple young women in the early 1970s. He typically targeted hitchhikers and would use his police badge to gain their trust. Once he had them in his control, Schaefer would subject them to horrific torture and ultimately murder. Notable victims. Among his known victims were Susan Place and Georgia Jessup, two teenage girls who disappeared in September 1972. Their remains were discovered months later, leading to Schaefer's arrest. Evidence found in Schaefer's possession linked him to the murders, including personal items belonging to the victims. Gerald John Schaefer was arrested and went to trial in 1973. He was convicted of the murders of Susan Place and Georgia Jessup and was sentenced to life in prison. During the investigation, authorities found a trove of disturbing writings and artifacts in Schaefer's home, suggesting he may have been responsible for up to 34 murders. However, he was only officially charged with the two aforementioned cases. So he was only charged with Susan Place and Georgia Jessup murders. Schaefer's case highlighted the potential for law enforcement officers to abuse their power, leading to increased scrutiny and changes in hiring practices within police departments. His gruesome crimes have been the subject of numerous true crime books and documentaries, cementing his place in the annals of infamy. Gerald Jared John Schaefer's story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath a seemingly normal facade and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding society against those who would exploit positions of trust for malevolent purposes. Gerard John Schaefer, a sick, disgusting cop who abused his authority to lure women and kill them. This guy is so sick, I had a hard time pronouncing his name. It is absolutely disgusting what this killer cop did. Well, up on the screen right now is a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a website. And on that website, I've got some awesome merchandise for sale. Support me, your favorite content creator, and purchase some of my amazing merch. I've got t-shirts, coffee mugs, and everything. So here is more information on my merch. In my flagship program, Saturday with Alex Cardinale, we'll be celebrating 200 episodes really soon. All right, now we talk about police officer Manuel Pardo, who turned into a killer. Manuel Pardo, a former police officer, is infamously known for a series of murders committed in Florida during the 1980s. His actions shocked the nation, and his case remains a notable example of how a law enforcement officer crossed the line into being a criminal and a murderer. Manuel Pardo was born on September 24th, 1956, in New York City. As a young man, he served in the U.S. Navy and later joined the police force in Florida. Initially admired for his dedication to law enforcement, Pardo's career took a dark turn as his personal beliefs began to justify his illegal activities. Between January and April 1986, Manuel Pardo was responsible for the murders of 9 people across South Florida. His victims were primarily involved in drug related activities, and Pardo claimed he was on a mission to rid society of drug dealers. He often referred to himself as a soldier in this self declared war on drugs. Pardo's victims included both men and women, all of whom he believed were contributing to the drug trade. He typically used firearms to carry out the killings, and his methodical approach demonstrated a cold blooded efficiency. Pardo justified his actions by claiming he was doing society a favor, a defense that failed to garner sympathy from the judicial system. Pardo's reign of terror came to an end when he was arrested in 1986. During his trial, he openly admitted to the killings, showing no remorse for his actions. His defense argued that he suffered from mental health issues, but the jury was not convinced. In 1988, Manuel Pardo was convicted of first degree murder and was sentenced to death. His case went through numerous appeals, but his conviction and sentence were upheld. Pardo remained on death row for more than 2 decades. Manuel Pardo was executed by lethal injection on December 11th, 2012, at the Florida State Prison. Until his last moments, Pardo maintained his belief that his actions were justified, leaving behind a complex legacy of a man who blurred the line between justice and vigilantism. Manuel Pardo's story serves as a chilling reminder of how personal ideologies can drive individuals to extreme actions. His case continues to be studied by criminologists and psychologists seeking to understand the motivations behind such heinous acts and the psychological profiles of those who commit them. And that is the case of Manuel Pardo. And now, here's where this show gets psychotic. Now we're going to talk about Edward Lutz, who is probably the most psychotic of all the killer cops that we're going to talk about. So let's discuss Edward Lutz. Edward Lutz was a 15-year veteran police officer with the Seaside Heights Police Department in New Jersey, who became the perpetrator of a high-profile shooting rampage in April of 2002. On April 9th, 2002, Edward Lutz, a highly decorated 15-year veteran and expert marksman, used an issued MP5 submachine gun and a handgun to attack neighbors in Dover Township, which is now known as Tom's River. Victims: he killed Dominic Galliano, 51 years old, Gail Galliona, 49 years old, and their son Christopher, who was 25, as well as Gary Williams, 48, and Tina Williams, 46. Now, Edward Lutz accused Dominic Galliano of molesting his daughter, and that sent Edward Lutz into a rage. Edward Lutz would began to taunt Dominic and tell Dominic that every dad has his day and that Ed was going to see Dominic in court. Well, court happened, and Dominic Galliano was found not guilty of molesting his daughter. So Dominic Galliano was actually an innocent man. Also, Edward Lutz worked as a police officer for 15 years, and he was hoping to get a promotion. Unfortunately, his boss informed Edward Lutz that he would not be getting a promotion, and this sent him over the edge. So, with Dominic Galliano being found not guilty and him not getting a promotion, he just finally couldn't handle it anymore, and he snapped. He took out a MP5 submachine gun and a handgun, and he killed the guy he thought molested his daughter, that guy's wife, their son, and the neighbors that defended Dominic and Dominic's wife, Gary and Tina Williams. Now, I first learned about this case on Investigation Discovery's program, Fear Thy Neighbor, Daddy's Got a Gun. And I watched it and I was shocked when I found out he was a police officer and he was doing all that. He's just psychotic. Trust me, Edward Lutz is psychotic. So after killing Dominic Galliano, Gail Galliano, and their son Christopher, as well as Gary and Tina, he then attacked the police chief. After the neighborhood killings, Edward Lutz drove to Bargat Township and shot his boss, Seaside Heights Police Chief James Costello, 3 times. Fortunately, James Costello survived the attack. Now, following a 12-hour manhunt, Edward Lutz was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in his car in a stranger's driveway. Now, this coward did not want to spend life in prison, so he killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He killed 5 people and injured his supervisor. And he did not want to face life in prison, so this coward shot and killed himself and committed suicide in someone's driveway. But at least he died. And for the victims that were killed from this lunatic, the victim's family can realize that the person that killed them is also dead as well. Motive and background. The primary motive was believed to be lingering anger over a 2001 court case. One of the victims, Dominic Galliano, had been acquitted a year prior of charges that he had sexually molested Lutz's daughter. Gary Williams had testified on Galliano's behalf during that trial. In 2003, surviving family members filed lawsuits against Seaside Heights and Tom's River, claiming authorities ignored Lutz's erratic and threatening behavior leading up to the event. The families later received settlements totaling over $5.7 million. Edward Lutz's story has been featured in true crime media, most notably in a 2016 episode of the Investigation Discovery series Fear Thy Neighbor, titled Daddy's Got a Gun. And if you haven't seen that episode, I definitely recommend watching it because it tells you all you need to know about Edward Lutz and his rampage. Really, really sad and really psychotic killer cop. All right. Well, coming up next, we've got one more killer cop to talk about, and it's our female killer cop, Antoinette Frank. Find out about her murderous rampage in New Orleans' Vietnamese restaurant. But first, I want to invite you to something fun. I want to invite you to my 12-year YouTube anniversary.
Get ready for the second annual South Florida Saturday with Alex Cardinale. Join us for an unforgettable evening as we wrap up the celebratory week with the biggest Saturday episode yet. Airing live on March 28th, 2026 at 10 p.m. Eastern Time/7 p.m. Pacific Time. This is the collab you've been waiting for. Special guest, Paul Cafaro. Just 24 hours after headlining Night 2 of the 12th YouTube Splash, the incredible Paul Cafaro is teaming up with Aqua Alex Cardinale. Together, they'll take you on a guided tour of Paul's ranch, showcasing his amazing aquariums and unique animals, including playful otters and exotic birds. Dive into South Florida fun, but that's not all. Aqua Alex Cardinale will also explore the St. Lucie County Aquarium and dive into all the fun and facts that South Florida has to offer. It's a celebration of aquatic life and regional wonders you won't want to miss. Save the date, March 28th, 2026, time 10 p.m. Eastern/7 p.m. Pacific where Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. Mark your calendars, spread the word, and get ready to conclude your week in style with us. We can't wait to see you there.
Antoinette Frank is a name that resonates with one of the most notorious criminal cases involving a police officer in the United States. Born on April 30th, 1971, in New Orleans, Louisiana, Frank's story took a dark turn when she became involved in a series of heinous crimes that shocked the nation. Antoinette Frank pursued a career in law enforcement and joined the New Orleans Police Department in 1993. As an officer, she was expected to uphold the law and protect the community she served. However, her life took a sinister path, leading to one of the most infamous crimes involving a law enforcement officer. The crime, triple murders. On March 4th, 1995, Antoinette Frank, then a police officer, committed a brutal crime that would forever change her life and the lives of several families. Along with her accomplice, Rogers Lacazzi, Frank orchestrated a robbery at the Kim On restaurant in New Orleans, a place she frequented while on duty. The robbery quickly escalated into a triple homicide. The victims were Ha Vu, the owner of the restaurant, and her two children, Kong Vu and Cha Vu. Frank, using her police-issued weapon, shot and killed these innocent individuals in cold blood. The motive behind the crime was believed to be robbery, as Frank and Jessie intended to steal the restaurant's earnings. The investigation into the murders quickly led to Frank due to several pieces of incriminating evidence. Witnesses reported seeing her at the crime scene, and her behavior raised suspicions among her colleagues. The trial that followed was highly publicized, drawing significant media attention due to the involvement of a police officer in such a horrific crime. During the trial, it was unveiled that Frank had a history of misconduct and had been under scrutiny by the New Orleans Police Department prior to the murders. Her relationship with Jessie, who was also convicted for his role in the crime, was a critical aspect of the case. Antoinette Frank was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to death in 1995. She currently resides on death row at the Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women. Her case remains a chilling reminder of the breach of trust and the potential for corruption within law enforcement. The case of Antoinette Frank is often cited in discussions about police integrity and the importance of thorough background checks and psychological evaluations for officers in the line of duty. It underscores the need for accountability and the ethical responsibilities of those who wield power and authority. The tragic events of March 4th, 1995 left a lasting impact on the families of the victims and the New Orleans community. Antoinette Frank's actions serve as a stark reminder of the potential for darkness within individuals entrusted with public safety and the devastating consequences that can arise when that trust is broken. And that is Killer Cop Antoinette Frank. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the first episode of 2026 for On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. I hope you enjoyed learning about killer cops. It is a shame when cops with a badge who are supposed to serve and protect turn evil and turn into killers. You've got the psychotic Edward Lutz, you've got the bisexual cop killer Steven Rios, and the thief killer Antoinette Frank. I hope you guys learned a lot about these killer cops. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat, and I will answer your questions or your thoughts. Well, on the next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, we are going to talk about killer Eds. And what I mean by killer Eds, I'm going to talk about notorious serial killers and sick serial killers, because on the next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, I'm going to talk about Ed Gein and Edmund Kemper. So get ready to learn about Ed Gein and Edmund Kemper on the next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. So get ready to learn about killer Eds next time on the Case. Well, that's been a wonderful episode of On the Case. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about killer cops. Please subscribe for more crime videos. And remember, if you see something, say something. Never be afraid to dial 911. Good night from Port St. Lucie, and stay safe, everybody. Thank you for watching this episode of the Alex Cardinale Entertainment. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, please smash that like button and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified when I upload a new video or I go live next. And also, share this video on social media so other people can be entertained from the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next video.